what they're doing is actually building cars from scratch. Talk about a team of 60 people, it's a lot, and you wonder what 60 people are doing, but trust me, they have a lot to do.
I did like racing, but I never really followed it as much.
Imagine these guys are actually building it in a year and running it.
Two of you began as volunteers, and from there the growth has been to a place now that you're managing everyone.
A question back to you, I know that's not how this works. Can you assume how much money they put into building a car?
You get to clear tech, you kind of get to paint your own car.
People are building carts, like go-karts, and then you have people building rockets even, and they're students doing it. There's a rule book, 200 pages approximately. They need to build the car as per that. Endurance is super difficult. They have to make like around 11 laps.
Do you think Indian students have the potential to kind of build world-class car of sorts?
The battery is built from scratch. They import cells. They're actually doing that, which is scary.
Do you think India does take motorsport seriously?
I want to be a driver of a team. How do I get there? Like you see grannies and grandfathers coming, and then you have grandfathers also saying, I like this Formula 1 team.
What do you think drives these students to do better? The end result, the product, is it like the engine?
What are they thinking? If you ask this question to them, I'll tell you what they're going to say. They're going to say, we are here for the learning. But then there are some that will say, we are here for winning. And I think that's the idea.
Well then, boys and girls, we're moving back to our next episode. Well, today I've found two people who are involved in the formula space, I would say, something to do with cars, motorsport. I know that a lot of you watch Formula 1 content, but we're meeting the chairpersons of Formula Bharat today. Renita D'Souza, Crystal Furtado with me. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. I didn't want to give the audience, everything entirely, which is why I want you guys to introduce Formula Bharat to them as to what it is entirely. If you can just begin with a little introduction of what Formula Bharat is all about.
Okay, firstly, thanks for having us. Formula Bharat, yes, you used the word right about formula, but I think moreover when you talk about Formula Bharat, it's students, and we see that because the event is all about engineering students. And what they're doing is actually building cars from scratch. Now, the idea of them building cars from scratch is something that I didn't align with when I started off, because kids that are in college building a car and running it, I don't know where they trusted their own instincts. So when I actually saw one of the cars and it ran on track and there was a kid sitting inside, my heart was racing because I didn't know why people could trust that.
Because if you think of it now, or if I think of it, when I was in my kind of school days, I think I didn't have anything of this sort. When I kind of went to degree and engineering, because I did media, we're not involved on those side of things. But now we've been acquainted to formula, or you can say like Formula 1 specifically, motorsport so much that you love cars. You love all of these things that are happening, and to be able to think that maybe in college I would have been able to build my own car, sit in it, and kind of have a team of my own. It sounds super fun. So if you can help us understand how old these students are, what do they exactly do, how do they kind of build all of this?
The kids are undergraduate students, so you're talking they're probably around 15 at the most, but I mean the age to participate is 16, but they get interns on the team, because then they're doing the scratch work. They're like just running around helping the team. But then you have people that are around 16 and up to 21. We don't allow graduates to be on the team unless they're like mentors, and you're supposed to be a part of an institute like a college to participate. You can't not be part of something, but it brings together different streams. So you say you want mechanical people, software, electrical, they even pull in managerial people, because talk about a team of 60 people, it's a lot, and you wonder what 60 people are doing, but trust me, they have a lot to do. They're balancing college, they're balancing life, and then they're also building a car. So you spoke about motorsports and seeing a formula car on track. Imagine these guys are actually building it in a year and running it. They're competing with it, which I feel with the resources that they have, pulling the money themselves and stuff, it's commendable to see what they do.
From what you say as well, right? This is something that I've been doing. I also pull in a lot of people from the women in sport aspect. Now I see the two of you who are kind of the women in sport for me, which is nice, interesting as well. I have to ask the two of you. Were you always kind of inclined towards any kind of sport as such, in terms of maybe racing or anything of that sort, because you kind of need some kind of taste to kind of get into this field, or maybe it's you could say it's kind of like an acquired taste of sorts. So how did this journey begin for the two of you?
I did like racing, but I never really followed it as much. But when you speak about sport in general, I was into sports in school. Like I am a kickboxer, so I don't know if that counts, but yeah,
it does count.
So it's quite an interesting story. We started off as volunteers. We volunteered in the year 2020, just before COVID hit. We had the first event. We were both a part of the registration ground volunteers. We got introduced to Formula Bharat through Kathy D'Souza, who is the former chairperson for Formula Bharat. It's an interesting story because we were all part of a choir. We used to sing together, and one day Kathy just comes up to us and was like, "Would you like to volunteer for this event?" And we were like, "Okay, fun." Like new city, Coimbatore is where the event happens every year. And then we took up the opportunity, and then although that year we didn't really know what exactly the event happens, because we were always at the registration desk. We would see students push in the cars in the morning every day, and they would come back in the evening and crying faces, and we would just wonder what's exactly happening inside, because we were so much into just handling registration that we didn't get a chance to go inside. And I think that year was just figuring out what exactly the event is about, and then COVID hit and everything moved virtual. And then I think Kathy reached out to us. I think you were already working with Kathy at that point, right? She was interning with Kathy, and I was just about to finish my graduation, and Kathy reached out asking if you would be interested to join in, maybe as a media support. So I was like, okay, but this seems like a role for someone with engineering experience. I mean, that's what it looked like. So she said, no, not exactly. We just need a creative person to maybe bring in some creative ideas to keep the community engaged throughout the COVID bit, because COVID had just hit. So I took that up, and then just been working with the company that hosts Formula Bharat since then.
So basically, it's safe to say that the two of you began as volunteers, and from there the growth has been, to a place now that you're managing everyone.
Yes.
In terms of, the sitting chairpersons.
It's been every year we see new students, and I think some of them join us later to, on the volunteering team. And many a times our story begins with, hey, we were there, where you're starting. And it's been a very big learning curve for the both of us, because we started off with the small grunt work. We started off with not understanding the actual work that's put in, but the more we did this every year, we understood where these students come from. Normally when people see Formula Bharat, they're thinking of IITs, but it's not just these grade 1 institutes that you call them. They are a mix of all tiers. You have people that somehow get a little money and they build. So I mean, a question back to you. I know that's not how this works. Can you assume how much money they put into building a car?
Maybe about 20-30 grand. I'm just putting a wild guess, because I'm assuming, as a college student, it's difficult for me to fund anything. So I'm assuming the university has to pay in something if they, would. And with universities in India, it's a little difficult for you to get your college to fund you. So from that perspective, I'm assuming 20-30 grand is what?
Cars can range up to like 40 lakhs.
Whoa.
Yes. Okay. Now this is if institute's actually supporting
you really well.
You can see that the support is there.
Okay.
And then these institutes are able to pull in sponsors very easily, because they're able to tell a story.
Right.
But then you have tier 2, tier 3 colleges. They're building probably with 6-7 lakhs.
Okay.
Sometimes fully funded from their pocket. We don't support that completely, but then the passion that they have, you see it materializing on track.
So you're saying students would be spending about 6 to 7 lakh rupees to build that
for
car
a season.
For a season.
Yes.
And how long is this season?
12 months, like 8 months actually. But then if they don't clear tech and they don't get to run on track, that's it for the car. And that's kind of the end for the car, but the team continues. So the same members might continue the next year unless you're graduating, you still mentor the team, and then thereafter you build year on after, and then you try to prepare for the track. So every year you're putting in money. Of course teams do better if they have money, but not all the teams with the maximum funding actually fare well.
Okay.
I've seen teams that, like we had a first year team in 2025 that won the combustion category.
Okay.
Like no one saw that coming. Everyone was like, you know, we are going to have regular, like you have consistent teams.
Is it because they've spent less?
We didn't see it because it was their first time participating in Formula Bharat, and you normally see teams that have been participating consistently. They've been in the top. You have teams like that, and this team came out of nowhere. It was their first year. They didn't clear tech until third day, if I'm not wrong. Third day is like you have another half day to clear tech, and so it was that day they did something, fixed it overnight.
Wow.
Next day they had not only a ready car, but they also painted the front to look better so that it's appealing, and then they ran it on track because they cleared inspections, they won the competition, and it brought a lot of attention down south towards Kerala. The team was from Kerala, Yeti Racing, don't remember the institute as much, but oh my god, those kids were, I mean, they were as surprised as we were.
So it's as good as Formula 1 racing, where you get to clear tech, you kind of get to paint your own car.
Yes.
You kind of have to make the changes right before, you know, it kind of goes out on track. And then it pays off, it doesn't pay off, it doesn't pay off.
Yes, so you see some of them crying at the end of it, of course.
I've seen a few videos of people getting emotional.
I mean, even if they're winning, they're crying because, you know, putting a year towards building something and actually having it run. I've not dreamt of building a car myself, but I feel if I had to, I would definitely cry because seeing something that you've built and you know, you talk about a combustion, people are building karts, like go-karts, and then you have people building rockets even, and they're students doing it. For someone who doesn't understand how advanced things are nowadays, I feel if they come and just have a look at students building something from scratch and then running it themselves, I feel they're going to be blown. The industry is blown by this entire concept because you know, they know Formula 1. And then when we say we're Formula Bharat, they're normally like, what's that? And we say, hey, these are kids doing the same thing. And then when they come to the competition, that's where they really see 6 days of the competition where students are like pushing the car, working on it day in and day out. They're getting penalties as well because, I mean, they're kids, right? So then they're collecting penalties. But then overall, I think at the end of it, one takeaway for us every time is that when these kids actually get a job, because, you know, the whole thing of n number of engineers in India, and then these guys have an edge because they are ready from day one. And I think that's what we're looking for. Like every time a kid comes back and says, hey, we got a job, thank you. And I mean, that's what makes us happy. Well, like we keep doing it because that's the result.
If you can give me kind of a breakdown of, you know, how does this entirely go? You said this goes on for 8 months, right? Now, 8 months, do you do this over weekends? And if you do it over weekends, how many days in specific? Is it like a 2-day, 3-day thing where on first day you're kind of doing testing? Like, because a Formula 1 race from where I'm coming is basically 3 days. You have like, you know, like the qualifying and the, you know, race day of sorts. So how does this go specifically?
Okay, very different from Formula 1 because when we start with the season, the teams are submitting documents to us virtually to tell us how are they building the car. There's a rule book, 180 some pages, 200 pages approximately. They need to build the car as per that. Now, sounds simple because you're like
180 pages.
The thing is, normally people think if you have a rule book, you're going to build exactly like that, but it is very difficult because you can interpret the rules very differently. And they're building either to be in the combustion category, that's or the electric, which we started in 2019. So we first only ran combustion. Now, when they actually build through the season, we have mentors who are telling them if they're building it according to the rule book or not. So then you start manufacturing. So through the 8 months, they're actually building with the mentorship of our people. And then
so you have experts, sort of.
Yes. So they are normally alumni. They've been here, they've done it before. So we have a community of every year around 800 volunteers coming together to put together one event.
Nice.
So you have them reviewing these kids' documents. You need to tell them what they're doing, and especially for electric because high voltage and stuff, right? So you have them to go through some trainings and then build accordingly. We judge them on other aspects as well, not just technical. So we have business, we have cost, we have design. Business is where they're telling us why they built it in a certain way and how they're going to try to sell it to the people. And then cost and stuff to evaluate how much of money they've actually put into the car. Now, all of this happens virtually, but then 6 days of the event, every year in January, we've been hosting it at Curry Motor Speedway in Coimbatore. Those 6 days, the first 3.5 days is where we check the car to see that it's technically sound. They go through n number of tests. They get stickers for it. So they have like a sticker in the front of their car, and then every time they clear an inspection, if they do, they get a sticker. So it may be tilt and rain, and depends on the car, of course. Like only electric cars go under rain, and it is very difficult to get stickers. And then after that, if they do clear tech, they go to every track event. So we call them dynamic events. So you have endurance, autocross, skid pad, acceleration. Now, not all the teams go there. The numbers are increasing now. They're getting more competitive. But endurance is super difficult. They have to make like around 11 laps of a certain stretch. And cars really push. So sometimes they're going so slow that we are like, okay, you need to move. But then the 6 days are so crucial because you have an opening time for the competition. You come in the morning, you just get those many hours to fix your car. You are limited by time. You're also doing like all the business and all of that. You have the finals happening on site. So you're also going for that. You're needed to take your car there for that. So in those 6 days, you don't know when time passes. Every year before the competition, we are like freaking out. Okay, hey, the competition's here. But then soon it's like, hey, we're done with. We're at award ceremony now. So it's a season.
So it's once every year, which is in Jan.
Yes.
That is your entire season,
correct.
Which happens for the week.
Yes.
And then, like you mentioned, the 3-day breakdown and the 3-day, kind of post
track. Yes.
Interesting. And now that you say it in a way that you got to look at the business angle of it, you got to look at the design, the specs, the lab. I'm going to a point of understanding that if I was a student doing this, I think it would be so wholesome just to be in that environment and kind of get a feel of what it actually means to kind of maybe be in the pit lane or kind of be there in the paddock of sorts. It may not be the one that you're seeing in the Formula 1 circuit, but still for you to have your car with your engineers around you and still to try and figure out as to what is it that we can do next, I think it's a great kind of achievement in itself. Since you guys have worked with so many students, right? Do you think Indian students have the potential to kind of build a world-class car of sorts when it comes to like a Formula 1 bit? Do you think Indian students have that potential?
I definitely do, and that's the reason we do this year after year. And I'm saying this out of the numbers. I've seen the number of students that have gone. So normally when they do this, they go for their masters abroad because that's the gateway. So they do this, they are undergraduates when they're doing this, and then they go abroad, they're doing their masters. They probably join a team abroad as well because internationally you're allowed to still participate in a Formula student team. And while they're doing their masters, they're probably on a team, and then that's how they probably get, like they do masters in motorsports or something like that. Many people that I know have gone to Oxford Brookes in UK, get into a team, probably doing cost analysis also. I've heard of so many stories that they've like gone there, they've done that, but you see you normally think people are buying all these parts, like these kids are buying parts and they're assembling it, and how difficult can it be? But no, some of these parts are built by them. You talk about
they're building it from scratch. They're not assembling parts.
Oh no,
but
they are open to build everything, maybe the motor even. We'll talk about the electric cars, the battery, right? The battery is built from scratch. they import cells. They're actually doing that, which is scary. It's high voltage. There are companies that are doing that, right? Like companies are building batteries. They're
Correct.
building battery swapping things, to help the world function. And these guys are students, probably 6-7 of them just trying this out in the workshop, and they do that, and it actually has to get the car to run for like endurance and stuff, right? So you
Just
need
if
to
I
build
can
it.
break you here and ask you, how old are these students?
16 to 20.
16 to 20. Okay.
Yes. So yeah, they're doing this year after year. When we started with electric, actually that was our fear. Are they ready to actually deal with high voltage?
Right.
I mean, combustion, normally they've been buying the motor, they've been, like going around with that, and they use like maybe a KTM engine or something, and they fix it into the car, and then okay, they're doing the body works and the chassis and pretty chassis and all of that. But then electric was scary.
Wow.
I remember the first year that we did electric, we had to get in people from Europe as well, because we said, you know what, we need people to see that the standard of checks is proper. You're dealing with students here. We miss it, they're probably going to go on track with that car. So we got in people, year after year, teams were doing better. And then we have some very consistent teams from Pune. We have a team from Bombay as well. I would want to mention them, IIT Bombay Racing, because
I think they recently won something as well. IIT Bombay?
they've built an autonomous car,
Okay.
driverless. So
Okay.
you
So it's like,
yeah, so it detects cones and
Okay.
it's just going to be moving on track. And we saw they showcased the car at our event as well. They participated in Formula Student in Netherlands. In Netherlands, and they won over there, which is a very big deal. They're the only team from India that actually has an autonomous Formula student car.
Wow.
So having no driver in there is a big deal. And in India, I would say that's a big deal. Abroad, they've already started with autonomous a couple of years ago. But the fact that teams are really doing that, the institute is supporting them, and we want to build that. We want to build that infrastructure here where they get the support that is needed, because at the end of the day, you see people like companies abroad too, they want more people, they want the talent, and the talent's here. So when we normally speak to companies, we say, hey, you want the talent, please come to the competition, you're going to get what you need. And it is a breeding ground for like
which is what I've also seen in the last 2-3 years. I think because of the dawn of Drive to Survive and a lot of people getting acquainted to Drive to Survive, then kind of starting to watch F1 as a sport. Now because you start liking different drivers, and you start liking different people in the sport, you start to kind of like the sport in specific. And now that you like the sport, you also want to be a part of it in some way or the other. Which is then you try to find out, if I do want to become an F1 driver of sorts, or if I want to work in an F1 team, where do I start? Which is, I think, Formula Bharat becomes then like the perfect gateway. That if a student comes in from there in terms of the engineering side of things, I think this becomes like the proper gateway of sorts for them to learn, kind of grow and kind of do different things. I had to break it down on one point and just ask you before I move forward, if you can shed a little more light and just let the audience know basically what is the combustion bit and what is the electric bit that you were speaking about, just in a brief.
So normally when a team's building a car for the season, they need to decide which category they want to build for. They need to tell us prior itself, so that we then know how many people we need to check their car and like through the season, right? Now when they're building combustion, they're only allowed to use that particular chassis for a year. Whereas for electric, because there's more work involved, you're building the battery as well, right? You don't get like a ready battery pack, or there are cases where some teams like seek the help, of course, but for electric, because it needs more work and stuff, we somewhere have given them that leeway as of now where they can use the same chassis for 2 years. They have to satisfy the rule of making certain changes to use it for the second year, which means, like for example, we finished the season in 2026. Jan 2026. Now for the next year, the team can still use the same chassis, but they need to make other changes. If they are not doing that, they cannot use it. Now talking about components used, the vehicle has to run with that particular, like, so battery pack of course will be your energy source for your electric car, and for the combustion you have your motor and all of that. Now combustion was the big thing in 2017, right? Electric it had not yet picked up in India.
True.
So I think in 2019 was where we started off first. We started with a concept challenge where we put it forward saying, hey, virtually present how you would probably build an electric car. We saw around 60 teams that participated in a virtual competition, and I'm not talking about Indian teams alone. We had teams from Indonesia and Sri Lanka and
globally,
Dubai and all of that, because they wanted to build electric and they thought concept challenge is amazing, right? You validate your design, see if you're thinking right. And out of the 60 teams, 48 is the number that I had last seen, had already translated to actual teams building cars in the very next year.
Wow. So you're saying if you started in 2019, by 20 you had people, executing plans.
Yes, they were already building. Although for electric cars, normally procurement is the biggest issue, because you're importing parts, and then when you have a lot of people wanting, and they're students, right? You can imagine the industry. They kind of make it a business from where students are waiting for parts. They probably delay. They don't know how to deal with delay, so they're learning as they go. So many teams actually back out because they're like, hey, we didn't get our battery cells in time, or hey, we didn't get a certain component. It's something that they could have probably used and built and won, but then because of a certain delay they were not able to. So they're thinking about and anticipating what can go down. Now with electric, another side to it is that you don't only need the regular, managerial people or mechanical, okay, we just put together parts, but you're also thinking of safety. That's like a mandatory thing. You need to have an electrical safety officer.
Right, which would be like a standard guideline.
Yes, so this one person in particular is trained to deal with high voltage. He's supposed to be there when you're dealing with it. It's mandatory for us to take that, because see, we run the competition, but then we can't be in every workshop seeing that you're being safe. So it's that guy's responsibility to do that. And with an electric car, they'll normally take probably more than a year to build, and that's why teams decide which competitions they want to participate, because normally they want to participate here. They build for Formula Bharat, and then they take the same vehicle to probably Formula Student in Germany. So they can participate in n number of competitions, or they do it the other way around. So they go there, and then they know it's like probably a clear win if they come here. But it's not always the case, because logistics and all of that, and then you fix your car to run here and you probably don't clear. But technicalities of that, there are a lot. Of course, the rule book stands by that. But I think overall, one thing is we were so focused on electric until now. So we thought of doing something new, and we are introducing the autonomous category for the coming season. So since we saw that there's one car that's already building, we said why not. So 2027 you'll probably see probably 3-5 cars.
Because maybe. I think there's been a change, and there's been a shift in Formula One as well. This year there's like a 50-50 split. Even they've gone in to an electric power unit of sorts. So I think everyone's getting into the electric side of things, and the future could be 100% electric. You never know. But I mean, when it comes to racing and building cars, you wouldn't want that to happen. But we all have to look at things, from a sustainable standpoint also is what people would say. I also, wanted to pick on the aspect when you mentioned that there are a lot of these aspects, in the, in this space where students can explore different kind of career options as well. Are you guys aware of a few career options that could help the viewers or could help the students who are kind of watching this, that they can explore?
From what we've noticed is it's not only limited to being an engineer. There are people who have started their own startups, as in just giving you some details on our alumni who've been a part of Formula student. So Mokobara, you might know Mokobara as a brand, right?
Yeah,
One of the
my bag's there.
Yeah.
I'm a huge walking,
fan.
talking.
So that has a Formula student behind it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. One of the founding members is a Formula student alumni.
Oh, okay.
Not necessarily participated at Formula Bharat, maybe they've participated in any European competitions, but one of them is a. So that's what, like, it's not only engineers that, you know, come out from Formula student projects, there are also other avenues. Another one I would like to share is one of our alumni has also started a company for protein bars. You would not think an engineer would want to, you know, start something like that. You should definitely try it. It's called Inert Protein.
Okay.
We had them partner with us this season because we saw that, you know, our students are like, they don't have time to eat and everything. So
only if I knew that these guys, you know, were part of Formula Bharat, if I had tried to get them as sponsors for this episode.
Okay. He would have been more than happy because we got him this year. We told him, you know, just set up your stall and just engage and see how it goes out. I mean, people were like, students were really happy because they all wanted to like grab a quick bite, right? They don't have the time to eat a proper meal. So that's where the brand placement really worked for him as well.
Yeah.
So like I said, there are multiple avenues that a student can pick up, not just as an engineer, but
not the typical roles. Roles, you normally think they're going to go and be like a product engineer or deal with like a race engineer, or you think they're going to take up a very technical niche role, like probably focus on a battery or something. But the kind of roles they take up are very, like, sometimes you're like, hey, what are you actually doing in that company? And they're like, brand. And I'm like, wait, what? Brand management? And they're like, oh, I do that. And then, you have someone dealing with sponsorship and they're so good. The 40 lakhs I was telling you about, it's easy for them to pull.
Wow.
Because they have a story to tell. And I think we too, as a, like, you know, the company that hosts the competition, we try to get these people in as well, because we're like, hey, you know how to do it for us also, because the competition too needs people, right? You need people who can run different aspects. You talk about managerial people, you talk about technical, you think about people that are just good with people. Because I think dealing with 60 people in college, if I think of putting myself back in college, I can't think of 60 people around me. But they do it, and I think they do it so well that they start their own. I think many of them start their own because they come with that idea that, hey, I did something of my own in college. Why do I work elsewhere? So they're starting their own. You have Bars Bikes, you have Exponent Energy, Aether Energy, you have Vecmacon even. All these companies have alumni that are Formula students who started, and they completely get the idea. So when we talk about support from the industry in return, also these guys just come back to us saying, hey, we started off here, we know what we did, and we want similar people to come back. So they come here and they keep supporting.
Kind of students.
Yes.
I also had to ask you, which, you know, you mentioned a good thing about sponsorships as well. Now, in order for you guys to pull this off, I'm sure there's a lot of requirement in terms of, you know, capital, funding, you know, the right people at the right places. If you can help us understand, you know, how does this business model work a bit, you know, in terms of where does the money come from, because you're dealing with students, you know, students are doing stuff, you know, for themselves. Obviously there has to be, you know, some kind of gateway for you guys to make money as well. So, you know, from where does the business come? How does this business work? And, you know, do you guys have any kind of sponsors as such?
Yes. So Formula Bharat as a competition in itself, it has two areas where we get money in from. And particularly all of that is only used for the competition. Now, money comes in either through registration fees, which is very nominal for a team to participate, but the bigger chunk is the industry support. So we bring in sponsors. They probably have you know, softwares for, like a software for the team to use. So they push in money so that they get that kind of branding. They get teams to use their software simulation, right? Like we have companies like MathWorks, IPG, Vector, all of these guys, they give their licenses for free to students. So now companies pay for these licenses, but students get them for free. And they want to be in this space. They want to put out what they are doing. They want to then come and recruit from here. So this is an easy place where they just put in some money. You get students from all over the nation and probably even internationally coming here, right? So instead of going to colleges to recruit, You come to one competition and you recruit. You have like 3,000 students every year. You choose who you want. Support from the industry was not at its best in the starting. Of course, you start something new. You're telling, you're actually thinking of the story you want to tell. But now we have the story, and it's easier to put it in front of them, and it's easy to tell them that, hey, these are the other people that support, and maybe you want to give it a try. It's very easy to retain them nowadays. Companies now approach us.
Do you have like these big players like the Mahindras, the Tatas, who are in the motorsport or the, I would say automobile field of sorts?
No.
Like a Red Bull maybe?
Red Bull's always with us.
Okay.
Red Bull is I think the only one that has been there for, we finished 10 years.
Okay.
So they've been there every year. They're always doing something fun with the students. They've been bringing a lot of energy to the competition. Now, Red Bull supports this because they see the number of students that are there, and they get that entire crowd, and they completely understand what is being done. But talking about the bigger players, the bigger automobile players, many of them still don't know much about it. And we are trying to get the word out there.
Okay.
But the bigger support comes from startups because many of them, like I said, are alumni, so they understand the concept. They want people that are ready from day one. And we try to reach, right? Like, see, it is a student competition at the end of the day. If you have avenues like probably now the Indian F4 championship that happened, if that is one thing that a company can sponsor, and then the other is a student competition, you're probably going to pick that because more media, more presence, and then you have this. So somewhere along that, it's very difficult to thread with bigger companies, but we are doing our bit, and hopefully someday we can
which is
pull
also, that brings me to my next part is, are you guys looking at it in a way that it becomes more like a ladder or, a gateway for also scouts to come and look at, students and be like, maybe I'm looking for an future F1 driver tomorrow, I come in here, or maybe I'm looking at a future F1 race engineer of sorts, maybe this is the place to come in from an Indian, Indian ground perspective. Because if you're looking at Indian grassroots, race engineers, race developers, or, anyone who works in or wants to work in the Formula One field in the future, maybe this becomes that ground, this becomes that competition where maybe brands along with, different kind of scouts come in here. Is that something that you guys are looking at?
Definitely. We've been working with academies because they run academies to train you to actually be part of a team, like a Formula One team. And these academies are actually linking us to to the world on that side. They're training people with the actual the work that you'll probably get when you start off. Now, if you want to become a race engineer, they're going to train you as to how you can get there. They bring in international people. So we are working with them to get that edge as well, because Formula Bharat as itself is not completely that, right? It's not, because we don't even call it racing. It's not racing. So normally people come with the idea, hey, there's racing, and that's not happening. So,
but would you want to integrate racing eventually? Is there a chance?
See, there's speed, right? There's speed, and the reason there's no racing is there's a lot more that comes into the picture. Is that something that we really... We want to focus on the engineering bit. We could bring that in with probably another sub-event of its own. Like say, okay, if teams are really ready for something like that, we probably do that separately. But doing it at this stage where we are still figuring out our teams ready and safe to be on track, like that's the priority right now. I think that's a long picture. But academies have been really supporting us. There are a lot of them that are coming into the picture nowadays. They take a whole bunch of students probably to Spain and other places, and they're like training them with like actual international teams, get them to do the work, then figure out if you really want to do it. And then there are a lot of courses and stuff that actually so we've also partnered with a lot of institutes abroad that probably host like masters in motorsports or different areas that can actually push you there. And many of I have a number of students that I know that have done that and got into Formula One. So they're probably like, many of them have a desk job as of now because that's what they wanted. It's
Right.
not something that was given. There's a difference between taking a job that you want and
but it's still the motorsport industry that you're
and
part
that's
of.
exactly what they wanted to do. They did that on the team. So
Right.
one particular story, this guy who was on a team where he did the cost reports for the team.
Okay.
He's doing cost analysis for an international team right now.
Interesting.
Similar thing, and when I asked him, did you want to sit behind the wheel, and he said no. That was not my dream, right?
Yeah.
You normally think Formula One, you want to be the driver, but that was not his dream, and he's exactly where he wants to be. So
which is what I was also asking is I think it kind of opens up a lot of avenues for
It
you.
does.
It's not just the team. Maybe you want to get the social media side of it,
Oh, yes.
but you want to land in a motorsport world. You know, in an Indian setup, in an Indian arena, right? Do you think India does take motorsport seriously? I'm sure you work with a lot of students, and that is the future.
Yeah.
But do you think India takes motorsport seriously?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the trend like with the support for the Indian F4 Championship and all the other small races that are coming in.
Yeah.
We do see the crazy fans going all gaga over it. So, think yes, but are you also like trying to compare it with Formula Bharat in any way, like or like the student competition in any way?
No, I'm just saying.
This
I'm just saying in
motorsport,
general, just to
general.
understand, you know, from a motorsport perspective, because I'm sure a lot of people who also come via the Formula Bharat channel are motorsport geeks
inclined,
of
yes.
sort.
Yes.
So is that, you know, is there a kind of trend where you had say about 10 teams before has now become 50, which gives you a picture that okay, there is a liking of sorts, and you
Yeah.
know there are people who are kind of
it's definitely inclined towards that side. Normally, you get inquiry. I read the mails that come into Formula Bharat. So you have like a random mail saying, I want to be a driver of a team. How do I get there? And I'm like, hey.
so you yeah.
So there are people that are really
Interested.
inclined. Like forget the students on one side, right? Parents.
I was going to come to that.
Fathers,
Yeah.
forget fathers, mothers,
Okay.
right? You have them being like, I want to get my kid into this because I want them to be a driver someday. I want them to be a part of a Formula One team because I'm a fan. And sometimes I wonder, right? Like, have they thought this through? Is their kid ready for it? But no, the parents are very ambitious. They're pushing.
Wow.
They come to the competition, right? Like you see grannies and grandfathers coming,
Wow.
and then you have grandfathers also saying, I like this Formula One team. So I'm very proud of my kid right now. Like he's doing exactly what I wanted him to do. So the support for motorsports is definitely there. There are companies too that want to push it show that in India, we are the ones supporting this from grassroots. We are
Right.
part of Formula Bharat. They're probably pushing to get elsewhere as, like other events as well.
Understood.
I think this season we had one of the parent. I think he was a grandfather. I'm not sure. He would come every evening with snacks
Yes,
for
the team.
For the team,
team. He would bring snacks and he would chill with them, and he was very critical about what they were doing as well.
Wow.
And then,
It's like granddad.
Yes. So, Curry Motor Speedway in January is super hot.
Okay.
It takes will for us to be there also sometimes. So, when we looked at him and we said how and why, and he said it's because of the way these kids actually function. He's seen them do this in the workshop. He's seen what they do, and he thought it makes sense to actually be there in person. The support from family for these kids is something that really matters because they don't even go home sometimes. And I feel many of the parents don't even know what they're doing until they actually see this. So there is a lot of inclination towards what they're doing at Formula Bharat. There's a lot of inclination towards motorsports and also towards the safety aspect of it. So when companies come in, I think they want to be seen as the one supporting motorsports even. And I think another aspect of this is many companies actually think Formula Bharat is Formula One.
Oh, okay. Like a building
The
gateway.
term is the
Yeah.
same, and hence it is the same.
Yeah, I think it's also with the logo, right? You kind of have like the car in there,
Yeah.
and people feel like, okay, maybe if my son or like my grandchild wants to get into the Formula One space
This is
in
it.
the Indian circuit, this
This
it.
is what
Which
it
is
is.
why
Yeah.
I also had the question: would you guys bring in like a racing aspect to it in
It's
the
a
future?
far-fetched thing, honestly, because the focus is engineering. It's building from ground up, and we can definitely do something that's more sporty, more like
Yeah.
wheel to wheel, but that would come later in time. I think right now we're still, I mean, last year, 2 years back, we were still reeling out of COVID,
Okay.
which meant that teams didn't know how to do this all over
Correct,
again.
correct.
You had students that never did it before.
Yeah.
So we were still facing that. Now, this year was when we were like, okay, I'm happy with how things are going, and we're trying to advance and make it more challenging. So as we go forward, we probably see what we can do.
Do you guys think if you commercialize this a little bit in terms of bringing a little bit of some entertainment value of sorts? Obviously, you got Red Bull with you already, and they kind of bring in that entertainment value, and it becomes like that cool thing to go to, where not only students but normal audience now comes to watch these students as to what they've built. Do you think that changes perspective then and gives you a little more added push?
It does. We've been doing, we've been trying to open up avenues as to like getting in visitors to come in.
Nice.
Because within Coimbatore itself, many people didn't know something like this happens.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of support from the Tamil Nadu government. Even this year, many of their representatives came to the competition and they couldn't believe what was happening there. They said, why doesn't the government know about something like this happening? And they want to push these projects to be this came from an idea of ours where we said, if competitions like this or these projects are taken to be a part of the curriculum somewhere, students will get the push from institutes to do it even more. You probably get credit points in your final year. You could probably skip an exam, because in Europe some institutes allow that, and here it's still seen as a extracurricular activity. So many government people coming in, a lot of visitors coming in. Some of them were kind of upset that there was no race, but when they saw that the car was built from scratch by students, they were kind of mesmerized by the entire idea of it. And it is a side, right? You see 60 plus teams with their cars, and so we have like a panoramic shot where we put all the cars together on track and we get it. Yeah. I think when we stand there, we see the entire efforts of 1 year standing in front of us, which is amazing to have a look at. Not all of them run. But then they're there on track. So I think that is what we're looking at, and the support has been enormous.
Yeah, which I also think is an interesting learning curve, right? For the students to be able to see something that they're building, and now if the car moves, I think in itself it's a huge achievement to be able to do something of that sort. Because I know, when I watch Formula One as well, on on a free practice day or on a qualifying day, if the car hits anywhere or there's like a crash of sorts, to be able to get that car ready on race day, I think it's a different kind of feeling altogether, and the different kind of stress that comes with it. Obviously those are big teams, but here things will be different of sorts also, which kind of comes to the next aspect of it. Because you guys have been working, kind of closely with this in terms of the students, in terms of the cars, the vehicles, when it comes to a team, when it comes to this entire competition of sort, what do you think drives these students to do better? Is it like, the end result, the product? Is it like the engine? What do you think are they, kind of
what are they
for?
thinking? So normally, if you ask this question to them, I'll tell you what they're going to say. They're going to say, we are here for the learning. But then there are some that will say, we are here for winning. And I think that's the idea, because learning, definitely, you're going to learn. You probably don't even participate in a competition like this and you're still going to learn, because you're going to look at these guys and say, hey, why didn't I do that? But the guys that are there to win, they're actually pushing. They have, it's not about just like winning the competition and taking home a trophy. It's the, from the Indian scenario, I think many of them wait for the certificate to come in. Like, hey, we participated at Formula Bharat, because it adds to their, their portfolio, and then they're putting that forward, saying, hey, this is what I did. I was probably team captain. I was probably designing the powertrain. I was working on that. And then immediately companies that understand that, they want you. They don't think further. They just want you. They're going to hire you. They're going to get you to working from day one. They're probably not even investing in training these kids nowadays. So many of them just want that. They want to land a job. They want to achieve this. Many of them do it out of passion for just the pure idea of building something. That entire thing of like putting things apart and then putting it all together. They see things that are like our technical guys on the team.
Yeah.
Sometimes when they're talking too technical, we are normally like,
What do we do?
hey, how can we help? So, and you know, we ask them too, why do you keep coming back to this competition? What is it that drives you? And they say, we want to give back to the community that helped us get where we are at right now. Many of them are exploring places all around the country, like just freelancing abroad, moving from company to company. They're like, you know, advisors to companies. And we said, like, you know, normally we're like, didn't you like stick with one thing? And they're like, we can't do monotonous work. They cannot stick with one thing. They're so like, they're always like, hey, I solved a problem here already, I'm going to the next. So they're probably starting their own company, starting something else, and that's how it has been. So the takeaway normally is not just like, hey, this is the role I want to achieve at the end, or I want to win the trophy alone and keep it in, you know. It is moreover, what do they want to do with life? They're looking at that already. And I think if you take many people 10 years back and you say, hey, were you thinking about career when you started something in college? Many people didn't think that way, but these guys are. And they are very ready for the world. Because a project like this actually tests you.
Definitely
You're building a car, you are dealing with college deadlines, you're dealing with us as organizers, so you have deadlines here, you're dealing with life. So many things coming together. I feel if you are able to pull through a season and be there, it's commendable. It is something more than passion that definitely has to drive you.
If I had to kind of put the same question to you guys, because now what you've spoken, it's from a student perspective to understand as to what drives them. But you've been associated with this now for, you know, like you mentioned, quite some time. You've seen different students come and go, I would say, different teams participate, and I'm sure over the years this has just kept getting better in terms of you would have seen something different evolve every year, something different, something more dynamic, something more interesting. What drives you guys to kind of do this every year, and you know, where do you want to take this?
This is very rewarding. The place that we stand at is very rewarding. Actually, we've normally been behind the scenes. So we feel when someone succeeds here in the competition or even in life, that they're probably not going to remember who ran a competition like this, right? But then on a certain day, we probably get a mail and it says along the lines of, hey, you know, I did this competition like 2 years ago and I've landed a job, and I remember the kind of support that you gave us. And I think those are the kind of things we're looking at. Every story of every student, because you ask me a person's name today and I'll know their full name because I have dealt with, you give me 3,000 students a year and I know all their names, because every one of them is probably challenging in their own way. They're students at the end of the day, but also it is a delight working with them. I would also say this from a place where I didn't think I would ever want to work with students. But then I am working with them, and every time I see them, I think, what is it that we can do for them? Because I had an entire career change happen personally, not at all from this background, and I stand here wanting to do this every year. My parents ask me, hey, don't you want to try something else maybe? And my answer is always no, because every year we're like, hey, what do we do differently for the kids now? How do we make it more challenging? And then you find like 10 success stories coming to you, and they probably thank you for putting a competition like this together. And that is our takeaway, because those 10 students probably saw the value in doing this. And I think it's also that fun, because the community that comes together 6 days in January in Coimbatore, those people are not just volunteers, they're actually family to us. Those 6 days we're like just catching up and saying, hey, did you see that team? Like, we're picking on stories, and we're like, we now understand how things go. We meet for this annual meetup, and I think the overall Formula student community welcomes Formula Bharat as well, like the European competition. They're normally checking in on us, hey, do you all need anything from us? They're waiting for us to come for these meetings, tell us what's happening in India. And that is something that drives us, because there's always something new.
Yeah.
You're dealing with kids, you're dealing with industry, you're dealing with new people every day, you're dealing with family also.
Yeah.
So I think that, the fact that it's challenging every day keeps your mind so busy, and you're like, I love doing this. So personally, that's something that brings me back, because I feel if I was doing something monotonous, I would not be able to do that. And this is everything but monotonous. It is really, really rewarding, and different thing life happens, but you still see. We have one of our most senior organizing members who comes from Alabama every year.
Okay.
And he is around 73 years old.
Wow.
What brings him back, and he will tell you exactly the same thing, that this is so rewarding. You get to go back and you feel that what you're doing in life is very, like, it has you content with, where you stand. So yeah.
In case you guys do open your doors, kind of next year maybe, for outsiders, I'd be the first person to want to come
amazing.
and try and be kind of part of this, because I haven't been to a Formula One race yet, but I think this would be a great step for me to at least get on the avenue to kind of see what students do, how they do it, because to be able to build something of your own at a very young age, that also maybe like a car, to try and replicate what the Formula One guys do, I think it's exceptional. It's exceptional what you guys are doing, having come from background which is law. You come from media, and to now get into the motorsport side of it, I'm sure is something different altogether. We'd be following your journey completely. Thank you so much today for giving me your time. In terms of being here, in terms of kind of explaining to us, the nitty-gritties of it, the business side of things, to understand as to what students do. I think this is something which I wanted to try and bring it to the audience as well, to kind of meet you guys and see what this competition is all about, how it happens, is it a race exactly, which I think has been answered, in the last couple of minutes that we've kind of spoken. And like I said, towards the end of the day, like you also mentioned, the students are doing this because obviously like the learning curve bit, but I think it's all about winning.
Yes.
Creating something something of your own, and at the end of the day, if you get a chance to win with that, I think it's a different kind of feeling, accomplishment, which you get, which I think is cherry on the cake, of sorts. So again, before I end this podcast, I'd like to say thank you so much, guys, for being here. I really appreciate your time, and appreciate you taking your time out to kind of explain to us as to what things are all about. And I hope and pray that when we do this again, in maybe when the next season of sort comes in, maybe we get to hear something different about.
Oh, of course. I mean, firstly, thanks again for having us. We've always thought about the story we would like to put forward, like how we would like to put this forward to the the people at large.
Yeah.
And this is where we start. This is how we want to actually see, put the actual picture there. And I don't think we need to wait for another season. I think what you could probably do is come down to Formula Bharat. We host it right there where it's happening, and you can actually put out the word, because when you're there, whatever we've told you, you're probably going to forget most of it and see, that experience is completely different. And when you actually get to see the students and hear it from them, it's going to give you a very different perspective.
Interesting.
Even of us. Yeah. So I would be very happy to have you on site. And I mean, even to like the people at large, we would love for them to come there and see the work that's being done by the engineers of today.
Interesting. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.